Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Sorry about last week. Apologize. Personal situations got in the way and just couldn't really get time to do a show last week. I know we missed action last week. And hey, nothing's changed. Everything's going as planned. I am Jay
Mostly.
Dash. Oh, yeah, mostly.
And
all right.
Don't forget about me, man. Where's my promo?
Well, who cares? I'm not starting.
And last but not least, your part man, part machine, all podcaster, Carlos, the wrestling movie guy. Hey, I apologize as well. It just could not be helped last week that we couldn't get those shows. We do apologize, but we thank you all for holding on and hanging out with us. And considering how long you guys have been sticking around with this show, you know what I'm going to do next. Remember to check out 503 Sports if you want your awesome, kick-ass, old-school XFL gear from 2001. Make sure to type in Unhinged at the checkout line of 503 Sports if you want to get an extra 10% off. Make sure to follow XFL Newsroom. And if you are listening to us right now, more than likely, you probably heard of them. And of course, if you got a couple of bucks to spare, feel free to help support us on Anchor. Just look up XFL Unhinged. And if you feel like doing it, throw us a couple of bucks on there. We really appreciate it. And with that said, on to the show. Where shall we begin today, James?
Where we shall begin is the resurgence of an organization. Also, an organization is about to wrap up everything they can wrap up so far this season. First started in the lovely city of Houston, Texas, where a very controversial ending brought the firing of a ref or a referee squad. But the resurgence of Seattle, even in the loss, was very competitive because now they have a quarterback that should have been starting a couple weeks now. I don't know what Zorn's seen in Silvers, but B.J. Daniels is clearly the better of the two quarterbacks. P.J. Walker had his off game so far this year. And yes, everyone's going to put it to what happened at the end of the game, the controversy. I still don't think Seattle is going to come back and win it, but gotta give the credit due. Even though Seattle is, or are they 1-4?
I do believe they are now.
Yeah,
That's
but
most unfortunate.
Yeah, but they didn't play like a 1-4 team last week. But one interesting fact: even though that the Roughnecks held off the Dragons, we're getting into a territory called midway. We're midway through the season, ladies and gentlemen, and that means we got 5 weeks left, and clearly, we are starting to see a separation in the West, and there's going to be a dogfight for that last playoff spot. So Seattle is still technically alive in that playoff spot, especially in the East. But when we look at the Seattle and Houston game, you got to give credit where credit's due. Houston has the opportunity this week, when we talk about next week's games, or this weekend's games, they have the opportunity to wrap up a postseason berth already. That's faster than the Apollos did in the AAF last year. Week 5, clinch a spot. That'd be incredible. That means now they know they're in the playoffs. They can either rest people, afford that loss that people think that a lot of Houston Roughneck fans right now think it will never happen. They think they're going to go undefeated. I still think they're going to lose a game or two. Usually that will happen when you're resting players, when you know you have everything wrapped up. And
Which I totally disagree with. I hate resting players. I can't stand that.
Well, from honestly, in my opinion, I've seen players. It happens in the NBA a lot. I know it's a difference in league, and when you're
and the difference of physicality as well.
Yeah, I guarantee you, I don't care if you're a Bucks fan or a Lakers fan. Giannis, LeBron, Anthony Davis, those 3-star players, when they wrapped up the number 1 seed in both conferences, and Lakers know they can't catch the Bucks for the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs up in a couple months, they're going to be resting for the last 3 or 4 games of the season. It happens. And I know a lot of fans out there say, well, they should be resting players. They're going to be out of the groove. NFL teams do it, especially teams that have already clinched home field advantage to the playoffs, or teams that just clinched a postseason berth and know they can't advance any higher in seeding. They rest players.
And a lot of times that actually comes back to bite them in the ass. Like, how many times do we see the Indianapolis Colts make the playoffs during Peyton Manning's reign? And every time,
bye.
yeah, they would have a bye. But besides that, like towards the end of the year, they would rest guys, with like 2 or 3 games left in the season. And every time they did that, boom, they would get bounced. And the one year that they didn't do that, they won the Super Bowl. So just saying, there definitely is something to be said for that. I've always felt that you got to keep your foot on that pedal, stomp on the opponent's throats. You don't give up, because the moment you start to let up, it's like trying to tell a hungry lion to stop eating for a while. No, you don't do that. No, yeah. I just don't agree with that philosophy.
Yeah, but the observation of this game for me, besides future speculation of if they're resting players or not, I gotta give it props to that Houston crowd. I think it was like 18 something, almost 19,000 people showed up in Houston.
They opened up the upper decks because there's such demand.
That just tells you that all the naysayers out there saying that spring football can't last, there is a market out there for it. And Houston's one of those markets. St. Louis is about to have that market. There's rumor that they've opened almost the whole upper deck, so there's potentially a 45 to maybe 50,000 fans for the next St. Louis game. I just want to give credit to the fans of Houston and the fans who showed up this week to all the XFL games. All the naysayers, especially from Pro Football Talk and all the other leagues that failed before this that have their trolls out there attacking the XFL, they're eating their words right now because St. Louis and Seattle did not have home games this week, and the XFL still got almost 65,000 fans total in attendance. That's a hell of a number. And that just tells you that people love football right now, and people are enjoying the quality of the game. And this game, Seattle and Houston, this whole weekend, besides Dallas, every single, maybe a little bit of your game down in D.C., all those games this weekend were very entertaining, and the quality of play of these games are far superior to what crap we saw last year in the AAF. But my observation of Seattle and Houston, I know people want to say, James, we'll talk about the controversy play. Well, the XFL made it already known. They fucked up. Okay? That's my opinion about it. Well, we're moving on. We're moving on to week 6. My observations of the fans that are dedicated, the people who have bought into the game have actually now gotten into the rules, know the players, have bought into each individual city. Hopefully New York moves to a different stadium and maybe LA. But bravo to the fans. That's my observation for the first game. Yes, the football game itself was great. That's good football. Even though these are not supposed to be NFL players, that was good football to watch. But the fans sold me on there, especially almost nearly 20,000 fans show up in Houston. That really impressed me. That just shows me that there is a market for the XFL, and this league has staying power for years to come.
I agree 100%. The people are coming out and they're staying there. Now, the TV ratings may still be going down a bit, but it's still higher than golf. It's higher than MLS. I guarantee you those numbers are probably going to be higher than baseball as well. Now, albeit the NBA's, it's starting to ratchet up as they're getting closer to the playoffs. Correct. So that's definitely going to take a bite of the XFL's apple. And then you have March Madness. That's going to be coming up too. That's going to be the big test. But I think if things keep going the way that they are, the XFL is definitely in a position to succeed, especially because they have, 3 seasons worth of money to work with. And they were expecting the ratings to go down a bit. That's not the most important thing. What they're getting really is advertising money. And that's what's going to save their butts. But as far as Seattle and Houston goes, man, I really did enjoy watching that game. And I love me some B.J. Daniels. That guy is awesome. You see him just running around all over the field as a quarterback, giving stiff arms to defenders. There was one in particular where he stiff-armed the defensive back and took him down first. I could read Daniels' mind. He's like, oh, I'm going down. You're going down with me first, son. I love B.J. Daniels.
So you're saying that you like a very strong BJ?
Very much so, with attitude. He's breathed new life into that team. He absolutely has. Now the run game needs to step up some more, but 30 yards for Daniels on his own, that's all right. But Farrow needs to step it up some more because last week him and Gardner put up much better numbers. But Williams, for what was there, he got a touchdown and 28 yards, average 4 yards a carry. That's all right, but if they want to win more, they really need to establish the run more consistently and not have the quarterback take up a third of the numbers. You need to be able to protect that man and move that ball down the field because have a better chance with clock management if you can actually establish the run. Now, they may have lost, but at least Seattle now has an identity. A bit of a stingy defense with a badass quarterback and a run game that when it's on, it's on. But they need to stay consistent. And Houston, I mean, what can be said? They're still the top team in the league, even though PJ Walker had a bit of a weak game. All things considered, 2 picks, still got 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards, and a pass rating of 104. He bounced back from bad early play, and they came out with the victory. So kudos to Houston, but even more kudos to Seattle. They're not just laying down and dying. I'm really very impressed with what's been going on with them, how they're turning it around. So I guess this brings us to New York and Dallas next.
Well, do I want to say I told you so about New York and Dallas?
I told you. No, wait, you told me, so let me refrain from that.
Well, 2 weeks ago I said that Trash Can need to be benched.
Who?
And they need to get exactly.
Who?
And they needed to, move on to a new starter, new quarterback. And I said a couple episodes ago that Luis Perez was the answer in New York. Well, this weekend showed you that he is the answer in New York. He runs that offense better than the other 2 quarterbacks. And, maybe because he ran a similar style offense in Birmingham last year. Yes, he's not going to be a Philip Walker. He is not going to be a Jordan Tiamu. He is not going to be a Josh Johnson. He is a game manager quarterback. And when you're in this type of league, and you may only need 5 wins to make the playoffs, going on the road, winning a game against a team that just lost their starting quarterback for a couple of weeks, who is in complete disarray in the Dallas Renegades, who honestly could be, in my opinion, falling apart. We might be seeing an epic collapse in Dallas.
Could be. No, they absolutely are. And they were wounded, and the Guardians absolutely pounced on them. It is unfortunate what's happened to them. I know that I talk a lot of trash about Dallas and whatnot, but I never like to see a quarterback or any football player go down with a knee injury like he did. Now they're saying that it's not as serious as it looked, but man, that's so unfortunate for him because that's time that he's not going to get back. And on top of that, all that pressure that was on him to be essentially the face of the XFL before anybody knew who BJ Walker was. It's totally he's been turned into Scott Milanovic. It very much reminds me of that. Now, albeit he's thrown a lot more than Scott Milanovic did when he was drafted number 1 for the original XFL, but you can see the parallels where that man was supposed to be the guy, didn't work out for him, and here we are all over again with Mr. Landry Jones. I do hope that he heals up. It really does suck to see that happen, but Dallas absolutely, in my opinion, is imploding.
Well, you think Dallas is imploding, but you also mentioned it off air that you think that the New York Guardians are going to take over the last playoff spot in the East. Well, currently right now they're 3-2, and they're 3-way tie for first. Based on tiebreakers, they're the odd man out.
Uh-huh.
But they still got 5 more games, and what has been looking like in DC. The Guardians have a great chance of getting into that second spot, maybe even the first spot, because you don't honestly know what St. Louis can do, even though St. Louis has a tiebreaker over New York at this moment. But if you look at the Guardians, there is a segment there. Guardians score a quick touchdown. Then there's a kickoff return. Then another touchdown. There's like 3 touchdowns within I think it was 19 seconds in the game. It was like brutal how action packed this game was, and
Yep.
you can start seeing these teams now because we're 5 weeks in the season. They're starting to know each other, and the offenses are starting to perform better. We're not seeing a lot of dull games. Well, we had one, but all these games had some excitement to them. But I'm just going to say, Luis Perez getting traded out of L.A. to New York was the best thing that New York had ever happened to New York so far. And he played very well. He played pretty solid. He had his interception in there, but still, he wasn't trash can bad. Luis Perez is the light for the Guardians, and Luis Perez is the guy who will lead them to the playoffs if he doesn't get hurt. Because I do think the Guardians have a good team around, a good set of weapons around to help Perez excel. And this game showed the reason that I told everyone 2 weeks ago that Perez is the guy to start. The only reason why he didn't play those first 2 times is because he just got traded and he was still learning the playbook. Now he's a starter and he will not leave. He will not get that starter tag pulled from him. I don't care if Matt McGloin comes back healthy. Trash can needs to stay on the damn sideline. But Dallas is imploding because they don't trust Philip Nelson. The guy is garbage. I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying that Philip Nelson's a trash can bad. He's more of a dumpster bad. A little bit bigger, smellier, and doesn't know when to actually throw a ball down the field. He's a masters of the dump off.
I would actually kind of disagree. I feel like they trusted him far too much. He tossed the ball nearly 50 times in one game, and yet Artis Payne was averaging 4.2 yards. Why didn't they try it all to get the run game going? I suppose it got something to do with the fact that they got scored on so quickly in that short period of time. But even before that, there was at least a good quarter, I believe, that had been played, and they just really weren't bothering to try to establish the run. I know, it sounds like a broken record. Establish the run, establish the run. That's how you win. When you establish the run, makes it easier for you to pass, and it keeps that defense on their toes. I don't understand what Bob Stoops is doing. Like, throwing the ball almost 50 times in one game? That's crazy to me. I don't know what he's thinking. They need to get that run game going. And if they don't, they're going to be done.
Well, luckily, Dallas is 2-3, and because their head-to-head matchup against LA early in the year gets them the tiebreaker. So if the playoffs started today in the Western Conference, Dallas will be traveling to the Houston Roughnecks in the first round. You can just scratch in Houston to the championship game. I think right now the only team, just 5 weeks into the season, if the XFL playoffs started today, you have Houston as the number 1 seed, Dallas is the number 2 in the West. In the East, it's DC as the number 1, and number 2 is St. Louis. The XFL championship game will be Houston versus St. Louis, with Houston winning it all. My opinion. And I know just St. Louis just lost to Battlehawks. Or not Battlehawks just lost to Defenders. But halfway through the season, St. Louis has been the better team, even though they had identical records. But speaking about the Battlehawks and the Defenders, the third game of the week, a.k.a. we'll call it the Beer Snake game. Congrats to the people. I think it's the North End Zone. That section has the standing room section in Audi Field.
I believe it is.
That's where the Beer Snake is happening. First off, I'm going to congratulate to the fans that showed up to D.C. Around about 16 to 17,000. A good showing again. With the stadium that only holds 20,000 people, you have 16,000 people that show up. Looks very packed. But one thing I want to point out, what's stuck out to me in this game is quarterback play for both teams. Jordan Tiamo, he threw it to a 100-yard receiver in Washington, but Cardell, wow, he has become a bust.
That escalated quickly.
Yes, it did.
In the opposite direction. I don't think we definitely did not see that coming. Like my picks for MVPs and all that, toss them out the window, right out there on the trash can, fully intended. I don't know what the hell's happened. I really don't understand it. I really thought he had a handle on the offense. Could it be that maybe the defenses just figured him out? Is it really that simple?
I honestly, not really honestly. I think based on stats, I think DC and St. Louis had two of the best defenses in the league. And when DC's defense is clicking like they did this game, they slow down, they shut down St. Louis. And when we've seen St. Louis, get up and shut down teams as well. I'm not taking them shutting down Dallas with any type of how can I say?
Vitriol.
The reason why, even the reason why they shut down Dallas is because Dallas with Philip Nelson's not the same offense as with Dallas with Landry Jones. But with this game, like the other games we've seen over the last couple of weeks between DC and St. Louis, we knew if St. Louis's secondary if St. Louis's secondary shut down receivers of DC, it was going to be very hard for Cardell Jones to make plays in the Pep Hamilton Styles read option offense. And guess what? He couldn't do it. Tyree Jackson came in the replacement of Cardell Jones, excuse me, and looked pretty good at it. He's not a superstar, but
yeah, I'd say he just got through the game. 9 of 14, 39 whopping yards, 2.8, and one touchdown. That touchdown meant a lot, though. It certainly put the game out of reach. DC
has a quarterback issue right now. That's why I trust New York better than DC. But with St. Louis, well, I've said before, I believe St. Louis is going to go undefeated at home, and they're going to win a couple of games on the road. So it's just still going matching what they're going to do throughout the season so far. They go back home next week. I guarantee they're going to get the W. But second way to the final game, the most entertaining game of the week, in my opinion. I don't know if it's your
I think
opinion.
it's everybody's opinion. That was an absolutely outrageous game.
Tampa Bay is awakening. They've had now back-to-back weeks that they look pretty damn good on the field. Taylor Cornelius is, in my opinion, has impressed me. Yes, he's not pulling up, MVP type numbers, but Homeboy is by far a better quarterback
than Flowers.
Yeah, better quarterback than Flowers, better quarterback than Murray. I'm very, very, very impressed of how Tampa Bay, even though their record doesn't show it, because they're in the Eastern Conference and because the Eastern Conference is so top-heavy and how they have back-heavy games at home to close out the year, don't be shocked if Tampa Bay somehow sneaks back into the postseason picture in the East. If that offense plays like they did. Yes, give credit to LA because LA made more plays at the end, unlike Tampa Bay. But LA in the West looks like they are now going to be that second team in the West to compete with Houston in the postseason berth because Josh Johnson, ever since he's came back, he has led that LA team. That team is explosive. That team has been making plays, even though the fan support there is not as strong as what the XFL wants. But, hey, you got to put a winner on the field, and the winner can, attract more fans.
It was to be expected as well. Everybody knew that it was going to be a struggle to get the Wildcats going. I don't know, maybe not having a generic name like the Wildcats would have helped a little bit, but, c'est la vie. Here we are. It is what it is now.
But I'm going to go out on the reach on here right now. This was the best game of the XFL this year. Period.
Yeah, I'd have to agree as well.
5 weeks into the season, a 1-3 LA team and a 1-3 Tampa Bay team was the game of the year so far.
If we had been able to record the podcast last week, I would have absolutely told you that LA was going to crush Tampa Bay. And next thing you know, you're watching that game, you're like, it's like 21-0 Tampa Bay. What the hell is this? What's going on with LA? Oh, damn.
You know why?
Here they come.
You know
LA.
why?
Why is that? Why is that?
Because Tampa Bay is running the football.
My God, what a concept! I wonder who came up with that.
It's like
I'd like to say me, but somebody, I don't know, maybe you heard of him. Vince Lombardi, came up with that.
it's been invented for a while now, man. It's
Fair enough. Red Grange and whatnot. You go back to the 20s and 30s. That's what it was. Like
nobody
threw the ball back then.
Yeah, you know what they say? Defense wins championships, but offenses get you there.
Offense gets the glory. Defense gets the victory.
But if you look at this LA and Tampa Bay game, it was very exciting. It was 9:00 on ESPN on Sunday, very late. But I haven't seen the ratings yet for this game. I guarantee if people watched the game early and saw how action-packed it was in the beginning of the game, for Tampa Bay to go up 21-0, that helped to keep the East Coast crowd into that game, especially the Tampa Bay area. But, man, it became back and forth. Josh Johnson making some dimes of throws. Johnson calling out his offensive coordinator during the game, which was pretty epic, telling the offensive coordinator to stop fighting with the coaches and just call the plays. That just tells you the leadership what Josh Johnson is as a quarterback.
And that's what I was trying to tell people. Don't sleep on this guy. I had a front row seat to him playing in Washington, and even though we didn't win underneath him, except for one victory, he carried himself extraordinarily well. He was a good, passionate guy. He appreciated the victory he got because he'd been playing in and out of the NFL for, 10 years and never got one victory as a starter. Like, the guy could run. He could throw. He could get his teammates moving. Like, that guy was born to play in the XFL. And I don't mean that as a backhanded compliment. I'm just saying that this is a great opportunity to showcase himself. And hopefully, maybe not this year, maybe next year, who knows? Or maybe this year, he'll get another opportunity in the NFL, and teams will actually know what to do with him because they see him running this offense so well.
Correct. But the one thing that I think that LA needs to really focus on is trying to establish, keyword of the day, the running game, to be more balanced. And I think in the Western Conference or the Western Division, excuse me, it's not a conference, there's only one division. In the Western Division, they don't need that running game to, I don't know what the number it is in the West to be a playoff team right now. Maybe 5 wins. Because Dallas looks like they're going downhill. Seattle, of course, is a game behind. But is it to the race of 5 to get to the last playoff spot? Because Houston's clinching here either this week or next week. They're going to be wrapping up wrapping up a playoff spot, not wrapping up the division title. But the running game will help LA compete with Houston. You don't want to be one-dimensional going to Houston because Houston will play your type of game. If they do match up with Houston, because basically how I'm saying this right now, ladies and gentlemen, Houston's wrapped up the West. They're the 1 seed in the West. I don't see LA or Dallas catching up to them. 5-0, and the other 2 teams are 2-3. Yeah, you're 3 games back with 5 to go. There's no way you're catching them. So who's going to battle Houston, you're going to Houston. And a great way to win games in the road in the postseason, I know we're talking about playoffs here, you have to have a stable running game. LA does not have that right now, and that's an issue, and that could come up and bite them in the ass later in the year. But right now, just win games, baby. And they're doing that. They just, won a very exciting game against Tampa, and Tampa's much improved. The Eastern Conference is looking like it's getting a little bit better, even though the records are getting a little different. I think DC's 3-2 records kind of, fooled me once kind of ordeal, fooled me twice. But, it's crap, man. How can you say this? Good, even though all these games had different styles because of different, how the games are, defense and offensive possession, not possessions, strategies.
Offensive philosophies.
Yes, there's another. I don't know. I just went brain dead for a second there. But
I thought that was usual.
yeah, good point. But we got to look at it this. I've asked a couple of people on the XFL Newsroom about this. If you rated the quality of football in the XFL in Week 5 now, and you rated the quality of football in the AF last year, who would have better quality? Us. And that's not being biased to the XFL. There were teams last year in the AF, like Memphis, like Atlanta, that are god-awful. That Tampa Bay team that we just saw play can boat race Atlanta, can boat race Memphis. And they basically are the same players. A lot of players are from the AF or in the XFL. The quality of the XFL is much improved. People are noticing it. That's why the attendance the doom and gloom of the attendance number from Pro Football Talk hasn't changed. The XFL is doing very well. And this week, started off with excitement with Seattle and Houston and ended off with excitement with Tampa Bay and LA. We're halfway point through the season. And so far, we have about almost 400,000 people that have attended XFL games. We only need about 75,000 more to surpass the attendance number the AAF did last year. So that tells you a lot about the XFL, even though there are two teams that are very questionable on locations because of their stadiums. But besides from that, the XFL has done an incredible job of putting these teams in cities that they knew they were going to get good numbers. Even though that certain teams may suck at this time, they're still attracting very good crowds. And I'm that's one thing I've noticed about this week's games is that the attendance numbers are very, very solid. TV ratings haven't come out yet. They'll be out here pretty soon. But rating Week 5, we're already, half the season's over. We got 5 more weeks to go. Then we got playoffs to talk about. Power rankings are really just power rankings. We have a kind of a different type of ranking here. Number 1, we're just going to say it right now. Houston, straight up.
Easy.
Then we're going to have what I like to call the upper glob. The upper glob is teams that are they're good to decent, but they're so jam-packed. You can place them 1 through 3. This is what I like to call the upper glob. And the upper glob is DC, St. Louis, and New York. That is the upper glob. Place them in any order. I don't care what type of power ranking you want to do. They're all 3 are just about the same. They're average, depending on which type of side of the ball you look at, what player you're looking at, what type of stadium they're looking at, or what popularity they are in attendance. They're about the same and average. So we get the lower tier, lower glob, which is, I'm not bashing the lower glob. That is Dallas and LA and Tampa are the lower glob. And, of course, unfortunately, I have the worst team in the league is Seattle, but they don't look like the worst team in the league because they finally found a quarterback that's worth a dang. And if you want to get rid of all the records, throw the records out of the book. Who was the worst team, in my opinion, this week in the XFL? St. Louis. But this is not a weekly poll. This is the overall season. But that is my my power rankings. There's just 2 groups of teams that are bunched up with each other, and you got 1 elite team. And the ref of the XFL Newsroom brought this up, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to join our XFL Newsroom, go to XFL Newsroom/Discord to our page. I think it was the ref. May have been one of the other guys. Someone compared the Houston Roughnecks to the Orlando Rage.
Was that meant as a compliment, or was that meant as a backhanded compliment?
Well, Orlando went, 9-1?
9-2.
Or 8-2.
No, 8-2. Yeah, 8-2.
They went 8-2, number 1 seed. They would have been the number 1 overall seed, basically.
Well, they were, and then they were knocked out of the first round.
Yeah, they got knocked out by a 5-5 San Francisco team. He said Houston's starting to look like that Orlando Rage team. Very explosive offense with a good quarterback and great receivers, and they just get beat by a ragtag team in San Francisco who had a very decent running game and a quarterback/game manager. And when he said that, I'm like, geez, Louise, you're telling me that Luis Perez in New York is going to, or going there? Oh, crap, that's Eastern Conference. Never mind. I mean, Josh Johnson's going to go in there and do something, or Landry Jones is going to go into Houston and do something, upset Houston. But it was some interesting comparisons about the original XFL to the old XFL. So it was a question that was brought up. It was, it was intriguing, but that's what you do sometimes in this league. You got to debate because that's what makes this league great. But we got about maybe 10 minutes left in today's episode. We're not going to last long. We've been back.
That's what she said. I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there.
What's not going to last long? You know what's not going to last long, ladies and gentlemen? And this is actually a little serious. Is notable sources, the blue check marks, the assholes that work for the major news networks. I'm not just talking about ESPN. I'm not talking about sports people. I'm talking about national media like MSNBC, NBC, CBS, Fox, the big boys. These pundits, these experts, these journalists who have been covering the what I like to call the pre-pandemic overhyped coronavirus disease that's going on right now. I'm not taking shots about this not being serious. The coronavirus has killed people, which is a tragedy. But we do know that the media likes to indulge on certain things. I want to remind everyone that the reason why I'm doing this is nothing XFL related. This is basically to tell you, the fans out there, look at these national media people. The people who are tweeting stuff out to prove their point about this disease, and they're they're hoping for this disease to become a major thing and kills a lot of people, so they can tell their followers, hey, I told you so. Look what I said on March 7th.
Oh, then it gets more ratings on their product.
Exactly.
Everybody's freaking out. Everyone freak out. Everyone grab a weapon. Everyone grab a weapon. Like, that's what they would love for everyone to do right now. Now, I'm not going to lie. I've been a little bit paranoid. I've been walking around with gloves in my hands and whatnot, but I'm not grabbing those face masks and stuff like that. That's going a bit too overboard there.
What really also got me, I forgot the person's name on CNN, said, we are amongst another epidemic / another plague type situation. When he said that on CNN, I'm like, this fucker, excuse my language, doesn't know history. He compared, this is what he did, ladies and gentlemen. He compared the coronavirus to the Black Plague.
Okay, that's going a bit far.
The Black Plague infected over 5 million people within, from the early estimates, from, Black Plague wasn't, actually documented like everything is right now, because, back then technology was pen and paper and word of mouth.
Well, they're making guesstimations, more or less.
Basically, the only documentation you had of the people that had diseases were in churches with the priests writing their names down. The Black Plague was technically, I've read a couple of things about this. I've actually done a research project of this back in college. The estimate Black Plague thought roughly about up to 5 million people were infected by this disease within the first year of its existence. So that's a lot of people. That's a fast spread. So when you look at it, divide that by 12, gives you the estimated number. Like 5 million people divided by 12 is what? About 650,000 people, roughly. That's just, let me do my handy-dandy quickly.
I do think we're at about worldwide reported, documented around 100,000, give or take.
Yeah. So
who knows by the time this episode reaches you? Who the hell knows by that point? This definitely could affect the XFL though as well. I mean, we've seen some of the numbers. I mean, slightly dip a little bit. I mean, it's only natural. I mean, look at DC. We've had a very loyal fan base, but we did go down to 16,000.
Yeah.
Still really good. And then you had the gentleman in Seattle, one of the concession stand guys, did test positive for the coronavirus as well.
Yeah, it's just
So that's a little worrisome.
but that's a little worrisome, yes. But when you have idiots on these national pundits or these national news networks compare the coronavirus to the plague, is stupid. Comparing the coronavirus to SARS is almost as close as you can get. Maybe swine flu. You remember swine flu back in 2012, I think it was, or 2000.
Mad cow disease. I remember that too.
And I also want to bring this up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to be political here. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care who you're going to vote for. People say, "Oh, you're saying this because you might be a Trump supporter." Well, I voted for Trump because I hated Hillary. And you look who's run up against Trump this year with Biden or Bernie Sanders. Really, we do have some 3 great candidates to vote for. Our political system is shit right now. But look at all the major diseases over the last 10 years. They all happen on election years. Go do some research, people. What's this year? 2020. It's an election year. Mad cow disease, 2008. Swine flu, 2012. SARS, 2016. Not SARS. SARS was 2004 or something like that.
I believe it was.
They all happened on election years. But back then, we didn't have social media like Twitter now, and you have all these experts with their blue check marks to tell you what to fear. Okay? Do yourself a favor, ladies and gentlemen. Go get yourself a bottle of Lysol and go read the back of the bottle. It will say human coronavirus. Then the experts will say this is a different type of coronavirus. No, it's not. It's the same strand, just a little bit of an evolution of a coronavirus. When you hear these media pundits saying this is a newly discovered disease, no, the coronavirus has always been around. The only reason why it's big now is because people in China like to eat raw meat without cooking it. That's where they found out this came from. It came from either a bat or snakes. So when you're comparing this national media to the Black Plague, who infected, by the estimation, infected 500,000 people a month and killed millions of people. That's a plague. That's not what we're at. We have, 100,000 reported cases. We're roughly around maybe 2,000 people have passed from this.
Those numbers are still pretty high, though. They jumped from like 2.6 death rate to about a 3.4% death rate now.
Yes. I'm not said this is not a serious thing to get, worried about.
But to compare it.
But compare it to something that almost wiped out the European,
Europe. This is just
Eastern Europe.
Destroyed Europe in general.
It almost destroyed the existence of the United States. To come to think of it. Where the Black Plague happened. But I just want to say to the fans out there, to the XFL,
don't let it keep you away from the games.
Don't keep you away from the games. Wash your hands.
Please be sanitary.
One of the best quotes I've heard so far during this coronavirus situation was from a doctor. His name is Dr. Castile. He is my doctor. And he gave me the best quote I have ever heard a doctor say. I told him, I said, Doc, what do you think about this coronavirus? And he looked at me in my eyes and goes, do you wipe your ass? I was like, yes. Do you brush your teeth? Yeah. Do you wash your hands regularly? Yeah. Do you use napkins and paper towels to blow your nose? Most of the time. He goes, oh, well, do that all the time from now on, or for at least a couple of weeks. And I was like, how do I can contract the coronavirus? He goes, the coronavirus gets on people's skin. Then they touch their face, their eyes, or some people who have, get nervous and they scratch their teeth or something, or they suck their fingers or use the restroom. That's how the virus gets into your system. The coronavirus, when it's on your skin, can get killed instantly. Once it gets inside your body, that's when it starts, multiplying. But the quote he said this was awesome. Wipe your ass, brush your teeth, wash your hands, will keep any fear away.
I kind of feel like wiping your ass and then brushing your teeth immediately afterwards is probably not a very good way. I think what he means is wipe your ass, wash your hands, then brush your teeth.
He's saying, he's literally says have a good hygiene, and he's like that's one thing I love about doctors, especially if you have a good one. He goes, don't believe 90% of this BS. He goes, in his institution or facility, I don't know what they call it, doctor's office. He's had 37 patients come in thinking they got the coronavirus, and come to find out they have the common cold. That's it. He said that these type of diseases, if they're caught early, you have a greater chance of survival, meaning you're in the 99th percentile range of surviving. The people who don't get checked are the ones that suffer. But he also said this: the chances of you getting the coronavirus or any type of disease that you think is a new hit thing is so slim that you worry so much about it, you start building up stress, and you actually start developing a mental disorder, which does develop into anxiety, which then develops into depression, which becomes a major issue later in your life if you're not diagnosed. He says, live your life, remember to wash your hands, remember to stay clean, and you can avoid getting contracted with coronavirus. He also said, show good habits to everyone else, and everything will be fine. He thinks, my physician thinks that the coronavirus is an overblown thing. He thinks that there are other issues out there that need more, more focus on there, like the flu, like heart disease, like diabetes, that need more focus because they kill more people than the coronavirus has each day since the coronavirus has been on. And that's what he said.
And God damn it, we need more lemon pledge. That's right. I said it. I was the one that stood up. We need more lemon pledge.
I'm more of into Pine Sol. I like that smell. It's a good sniff thing too. Opens up.
Screw Pine Sol. I need some lemon pledge.
Well, okay. I know. Apparently you like strong BJs and lemon pledge.
You're damn right. In no discernible order.
But so the close out this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I know a lot of people are freaking out about the coronavirus. Trust me, I know people that are personal, closely to me, that are worrying about it. Live your life. Just live your life. If you do get sick, you have a support group around you. It's not that if you get sick, people won't leave you alone.
Maybe if you have the plague.
Yeah, maybe if the Black Plague does reappear. As long as what's the French thing when they come in with the freaking mask on that looks like a bird?
There is a name for that.
Homeboy from the AEW was the character of this.
Not Hangman Page.
No, the short guy with the umbrella.
It makes me think of the Penguin, but good lord, what the hell is his name? I'm blanking on her. On the rest of the movie, I'm pissed at myself. Why am I blanking on his name?
Yeah, wrestling movie guy. What the hell, bro?
Well, here's the thing. I watch way more WWE than I watch AEW. I only have so much time to watch promotions, and at the end of the day, I kind of had to make a choice, and I chose WWE. Sorry, AEW fans, but I've been sticking with that. Actually, tonight, Edge is supposed to be making his return and confronting Randy Orton, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that after we finish recording this. But yeah, I can't remember that guy's name. We'll call him the Penguin.
Well, it's the Penguin, whatever. We'll find out. We'll find out what it is for Friday's show. But no further ado, week 4 is in the books of the. Week 5 is in the books of the XFL. See, the coronavirus is affecting my knowledge of what week it is in the XFL. Anyways,
but there was much in there anyway.
That's true.
Shots fired.
Besides from that, check 503 Sports. Go check out them. Get some authentic. Get some authentic XFL gear from the original XFL and every default football league, from arena to they may actually get some arena stuff here pretty soon, seeing that they went bankrupt. Put in Unhinged, get 10% off. After that, follow us on Twitter at XFL Newsroom Unhinged, and at the Wrestling Movie G. I am J Dash, the host of the podcast. My partner crime, Carlos. We'll see you guys Friday night.
And don't forget, guys, if you want to support us, if you got a couple of bucks to spare, jump on over to Anchor and look up XFL Unhinged if you want to help support us. We'd really appreciate it. And yeah, as James said, that's the end of the show. We'll catch you guys later on the flip side. We'll hopefully get the next episode with our predictions on this week's games later this week. Take it easy, y'all.
Wash your damn hands, people. See you Friday.
As a great Red Fox once said, you got to wash your ass.
Okay, that's really too much.
Hey,
We'll see you Friday.
Peace, y'all.